OK, well, let's find out a bit more about what those elections mean here in the East Midlands. Later, we'll have UKIP in the studio. But first, the local elections. In the East Midlands, Labour held Derby and Bassetlaw and won Amber Valley from the Conservatives. But UKIP also made advances and, as always, behind all the parties, an army of dedicated local activists. So what drives them? Jane Dodge has been following candidates in Amber Valley to find out.
He's just 21 and standing as a councillor for the first time. He's 55 and this is his second attempt to get elected. Both of them are passionate about politics. Kurt Cuss is a student at Derby University studying IT.
Have your number, please.
He's standing in the Arboretum ward, one of the most diverse parts of the city.
Cheers.
It's the first time UKIP has contested the council seat.
I've only really got into politics only a few years ago, and I've probably been a floating voter. But now, since January 2013, I've become a UKIP member and I'm dedicated to help UKIP every step of the way.
Good afternoon.
David Farrelly might be standing as a local councillor, but he often gets his ear bent about national issues.
How would you like to live on £63 a week?
I think I find it very difficult to live on £63 a week. The local election is about local issues, and some of the issues what I'm trying to fight is, firstly, they're trying to close the public toilets in Hege, which they're not trying to close them, they're also trying to sell them off.
David Farrelly is used to dealing with hostile scenarios. He was a policeman for more than 3 decades. Now he's standing as the Labour candidate in the Hege and Ambergate by-election.
I think I've got a lot of the skills and abilities. Certainly there's been a lot of money invested in my training and development over many, many years, and I'd like to use that further, having now retired.
On the doorstep, UKIP's tough stance on immigration is proving popular with voters, according to Kurt Cuss. But he denies the party's racist, pointing to his own background as proof that's not the case. His Polish grandfather came to Britain after the Second World War, where he met and married his wife.
We don't want to stop immigration, we want controlled immigration like it was. So a bit like Australia with a point-based system. I just think uncontrolled mass immigration is having a negative effect.
Hi there.
Last time he stood as a local councillor, David Farrelly lost by just 34 votes.
Well, the weather's good, that's one thing.
This time round, he's been hard at it, knocking on doors.
I think if I'm cheeky enough to ask people to vote for me, the least I can go and do is tap on their door, say hello, introduce myself and have a chat.
If he doesn't win this time round, David Farrelly says he'll have to have a long, hard think before he decides to stand again. As far as Kurt Cuss is concerned, this is only the beginning.
Well, our political editor John Hess has been in the thick of the action throughout this election campaign, John, and Nigel Farage promised a political earthquake in this election. Did the earth move here in the East Midlands?
Well, in the East Midlands we're used to earth tremors, and we've had quite a few of those recently, haven't we? But they're more to do with our mining heritage than anything that UKIP had to offer. And actually, when you look at the handful of council results in the East Midlands, UKIP haven't made that breakthrough that I think they were hoping for. But actually, they have made an impact. Labour took Amber Valley, as we've just said, and actually if you drill down into the 2 wards where Labour needed to win and take seats off the Tories to get control of the council, you get some very interesting results. So Labour in Belper South, I've never mentioned Belper South before, but they polled 37%. That's 9 percentage points ahead of the Conservatives. UKIP were 2 percentage points behind the Conservatives. So when the Conservatives in Amber Valley, as they have been over the weekend, very annoyed at the impact that UKIP have had on losing them control of Amber Valley, then that's what's happened. Now, if that's reflected, that share of the vote across the other marginal constituencies of the East and the West Midlands, then Ed Miliband is Prime Minister next year.
What does this tell us, if anything, about what might happen in Newark next?
Well, Newark's very different. It's a 16,000 Conservative majority. We've seen majorities kind of literally fall away in by-elections. I think what's interesting is the Prime Minister has been making a number of visits to Newark. He's been in Newark this morning. He was having breakfast in Bingham this morning at the Pitcher Cafe. So he's determined to hold on to that seat come what may.
OK, well, so he's back in the patch, Ken. He must be really worried if he's back, your leader.
Well,
we need to. Time he's been here, I think.
No, we need to win this by-election. I've been to Newark as well.
I'm glad to hear it.
People do go to by-elections, and it's very important we hold the seat. Obviously, got to remind people about the sort of serious nature of national politics and the fact the government's got a lot to do. We're talking about the government of the country, and I think we'll hold Newark. But I think we do need to explain to people why we should hold Newark. We have a good new candidate. He's going to be a very good MP. I am confident that we'll win Newark, so long as we actually assert that we are actually doing much better than practically any other Western country in getting our economy to recover. All the problems which people face and feel will be eased if that recovery is maintained. There's a serious job of work to do, and if you're deciding between David Cameron's government and UKIP, it really is not an option to say, I'll cast a vote for right-wing nationalists who don't actually have anything to say on the major problems of the country.
I haven't been up to Newark. I can't say that Newark is one of our target seats. However, we did do very well in Amber Valley. We topped the poll in Amber Valley. We topped the poll in Lincoln. And they are seats that we will need to win in order to win a general election. Newark is, we've never done that well in Newark. We will be working in Newark, obviously.
It's just a lost cause.
No, it's not a lost cause. We will be working hard in Newark. But quite frankly, I've had my eye on the European elections, and as leader of Labour in Europe, I've been all over the country trying to deal with that.
Are you just letting UKIP have a free run to
No,
to
absolutely. We will be working hard. There were many Labour politicians who will be going to Newark, but for my part, I was concentrating on the European elections.
Getting away.
Newark used to be a safe Labour seat for Ted Bishop. The boundaries are not so good for them nowadays, but
some people are saying it used to be
if the Labour Party were doing better,
seat too.
if the Labour Party were doing better, they'd be making a more serious go at Newark.
OK, that's you told off.
It is.
Well, away from Newark, losing Amber Valley, a key battleground in the next election, it's not good, is it?
UKIP have made it. They didn't do quite as well as last year, UKIP. I mean, I'm just resigned to the fact I'm not. This programme is not going in for Farage mania on quite the scale
no,
that
but
some
what
of the
I'm saying
newspapers
is it's not
are.
good for you.
The Labour Party fell back last year in the county council elections nationally. They did better than they did yesterday. In fact, in Nottinghamshire, they lost the only UKIP councillor they got.
But you lost Amber Valley, which is
We lost Amber Valley because we lost 2 seats to the Labour Party. Amber Valley is a key marginal. I'm very sorry we lost Amber Valley. I'm very sorry for the councillors because I think they're making a decent job of running Amber Valley. The election was complicated by the UKIP vote. We have to point out to people that you're talking about local services in Amber Valley. Personally, I think the choice is between Conservative and Labour. As John's just said, if you vote UKIP because you don't like Bulgarians, you're actually putting the Labour Party in control of your local services.
Well, we'll be talking
I hate to criticise the voters of Amber Valley,
we'll
but
be talking to UKIP
about
directly in just a moment.
About a quarter of them ought to have thought about that.
OK. Well, John, you're off to capturing later for the European results. What do you think is going to happen?
I think what's very interesting is the turnout in the European elections. It's barely just over 33%. Now, there are reasons for that. One was the weather was absolutely shocking on Thursday, but also we didn't have too many local council elections, so actually it was a pretty quiet day in terms of campaigning. But that 33%, it's the lowest ever in the East Midlands for a European election. And I think whatever the result is this evening, and no doubt UKIP will do very well in the East Midlands, I think a lot of the parties will trash UKIP's success this evening because they'll say, well, hold on a minute, 70% of people actually didn't even take part in these European elections.
OK, John, thanks very much indeed.